Welcome to March Malcontent, Episode 10. March Malcontent is the preseason 2 April Anger, the amiibo tournament we hold every year. If you missed last video, all you need to know is that the winner of this match makes it into the tournament. And our first match is going to be Luigi against Ness. Alright, looks like we're going to be on Umbra Clock Tower. This is probably pretty great for Luigi, specifically because he needs to grab characters often to succeed. And without any platforms, Ness isn't going to be able to land on any, which makes Luigi have an easier time of grabbing him. Granted, he did just get his face concaved at the beginning of that match, this match, just taking so much percentage. Abusing the invincibility frames of the Luigi Tornado, though. Ness faints going off stage to edgeguard Luigi, though. Sends him off stage again. Luigi definitely struggles when he's off stage. He has a very low airspeed, so he needs to use his green missile move to recover, which is risky because, first of all, it puts him in a very predictable flight path, and also your opponent can just throw their body in the way, and that stops all your momentum. Opponents at high percentage usually won't do that, though, because there is a 1 in 10 chance that Luigi gets a misfire, which is a move that hits really hard and comes out pretty fast, actually. So body blocking Luigi is dangerous if you are at a killable percentage. Luigi gets a back throw on Ness. Normally when you see back throw, Ness's back throw I should say, it's because he's trying to kill his opponent. So Ness's back throw before Smash Ultimate was the strongest back throw in the game. In Smash Ultimate, it's only beaten by Incineroars. So what you should know is that Ness has a very good back throw. Your opponent's at a high percentage, you're at the ledge, you grab them, back throw them, and they die. It's one of the best kill throws you ever get to see. A lot of characters that have a kill throw, the throw will only kill, like, say, 170% or more. Not Ness's. Luigi goes for a green missile launch there. It's always risky because if you do get a misfire, that's going to put you very far off stage. And Luigi is a character who can get randomly spiked to his death. In retrospect, any character can get randomly spiked to their death, but Luigi can be very easily edge-guarded by someone who knows what they're doing. Ness goes for the up throw. It's obviously not as high kill power as his back throw, but Ness does have a good set of throws. Just something to know. Ness with enough patience to get Luigi with the up tilt. Luigi able to combo out of the down throw, actually. Usually pretty hard at that percentage. I don't exactly know how the amiibo DI, at least in any specific situation. They do have DI capabilities, and they do try to mix it up to become non-predictable and not get killed into the blast zone. Doesn't exactly mean that they're perfect, but I'm pretty sure they're better than me at it, so I can't really pass too much judgment. Luigi goes needlessly high, uses the Luigi Tornado to Luigi Cyclone way too early, and he does get punished for that. Ness tries to combo the up air with an up air. Usually it would work. Luigi got out of that combo. Luigi's actually very good at doing that specific thing. His neutral air comes out very quick. It does, of course, depend on if the opponent's in the right area to get hit by it. Ness trying to recover. Luigi throws his body in the way. That actually would have bricked Ness's recovery, but then Luigi hit him anyway. Ness very eagerly trying to get back on stage, desperately needing to get his feet on the ground. He does manage to do it. Luigi's not quite at a kill percentage, though. Luigi's Tornado doesn't kill Ness. Luigi tries to go out after him, though, but he doesn't get too far before he has to get right back to the stage. And it looks like everyone's going to make it back to the stage again. Ness even got that tech. That's a great move. Usually teching is the correct move, of course, but right then he would bounce off and probably died. Ness air dodges in, but Luigi didn't see it coming, so he actually jumped past him. Normally, air dodging in is a great way to get killed, simply because if you're air dodging towards your opponent, you'll be stuck in your lag, and Luigi didn't get stuck in the wall there. If Luigi's green missile is going fast enough, his head gets stuck in the wall as a little visual gag. It is also a problem gameplay-wise, because it means you're stuck in the wall and usually your opponent spikes you and you die. Or at the very least, they hit you with anything, and you're not doing great. Back throw is going to kill Luigi. Just barely enough percentage to do so. Going to be seeing Ness in the tournament. And here we've got Yoshi against Mr. Game & Watch. Looks like we're going to be playing on the Reset Bomb Forest. Yoshi trying to chase Mr. Game & Watch with an egg there. Didn't particularly work, but I appreciate the attempt. Goes down very low with Mr. Game & Watch. Yoshi's down air does send you up, though. That is something to, first of all, know. It used to kind of work as a weird sort of spiking move. With how long it stays out, I can understand why that would have to be changed. Now the problem is actually if you send Yoshi up super high and you try to chase him, he hits you with the down air and then you die off the top. Yoshi able to grab the ledge there. Very important with Yoshi because his double jump makes up the majority of his recovery. His up special is the egg, which he's thrown out earlier. Does not give you much distance, especially if you're not doing it out of your double jump. Yoshi getting a tech roll on the top platform. Probably should have gone for a neutral tech. I don't think Mr. Game & Watch could have made it there in time. Mr. Game & Watch not getting to get his feet on the floor for more than a second before Yoshi comes by and smacks him with his enormous nose. Which is one of those sentences I never thought I'd say, and yet here I am saying them anyway. Up air is able to kill Mr. Game & Watch. Things are looking pretty great for Yoshi. Seems to be just absolutely dominating this match. Goes for a very greedy spike on Mr. Game & Watch, gets killed by a bomb for it. Mr. Game & Watch actually recovered back the stage, but Yoshi had just enough speed to get there and smack him with his tail for it. Yoshi going up very high, using his double jump's long reach to land on whatever platform he feels like. With a lot of characters, it can be weird and or difficult to land on a platform if your normal jump goes below it and your second jump goes above it. Because if you undershoot it, you obviously can't land on it. And if you overshoot it, then you have to spend the time to go over it and then spend the time for gravity pull you back down towards the platform. It's actually interesting you can't fast fall onto a platform because if you try, you fall through because that is the same button input. You can, I guess, try to get around this by throwing out a move, and that already killed Mr. Game & Watch. I guess that's going to cut that conversation short, just like Mr. Game & Watch's life was cut short. And for our next match, we're going to have Ice Climbers against Pit. Battle of the Retro characters, who, in their games, both required a whole bunch of vertical screen scrolling. We that they have that corollary, but I guess it's probably because normally in screen scrolling games, there are side scrollers which are incredibly popular. Vertical games, a lot less so. They do innately come with the risk of anytime you miss your jump, you either fall down a large degree, or in actually the case of Ice Climbers and in Kid Icarus, you just die off the bottom of the screen. Meanwhile, side scrollers can have long stretches of land that don't even have a risk of you dying. But with vertical scrollers, in order to do that, you'd either have to have long switchbacks, or just hope the player doesn't mess up. And Pit gets killed off the top as Ice Climbers auto heal back to 0. Gonna be a real rough match for Pit here. Pit gets a side B. Only hits one of the Ice Climbers though. It's always a risk that you take when you fight them, is that if you only hit one of them, the other one's probably going to smack you with something. It's especially common because the Ice Climber players seem to know this. At least a lot of the ones I've fought. They will specifically, whenever the situation seems ambiguous, just throw out moves and hope that they hit you with something. Kind of also a symptom you'll see with Rosalina and Luma, where it's possible to hit one and then the other one hits you back anyway. Also, coincidentally, when you're fighting the Ice Climbers, if you ever grab them, you have to throw them pretty much immediately. In Smash Ultimate, we have this very nice mechanic where if you are throwing somebody, you're put into a state of throw invincibility, which is entirely possible. It came about because it was easier to do bug testing that way. But in a practical game sense, it means that if you're on a free-for-all, you can actually throw people. Because if you ever tried to do it in previous Smash games before they had that game mechanic, you would grab someone, you'd try to throw them, and then someone else would smack you in the face, and then you'd stop throwing them. And for most throw animations, the damage is done to the opponent at the very end of the throw when they're getting launched from your clutches. So the person you were throwing would actually get off a lot better than you were. Especially because doubly so in the throwing animation, you're throwing your opponent around, and if the third person is just trying to hit both of you, they don't know where the opponent's getting sent, but they do know where your feet are standing. And that also means that if you're the thrower, you get punished even more. So, while I'm not sure if it was for casual or competitive play, it's actually a mechanic that definitely benefits both. For competitive play, it means that against characters like Ice Climbers, you can actually use throws. You don't really get any pummels in, but you used to not get any kind of grab off of them. Also, they used to be able to grab you twice because each Ice Climber used to be able to perform a grab. Now it's the case that only the first Ice Climber does. And also, if you do successfully land the grab on one of them, the second Ice Climber is supposed to be helpless. Or at least if you grab the main Ice Climber, the second Ice Climber isn't supposed to be able to act or anything. And that does sometimes work. But also, as a side note, if they were starting to do a move anyway, they will usually finish that move instead. So that's why that could seem inconsistent. Okay, so Pit saw that Ice Climbers were throwing out a whole bunch of icicle projectiles. His idea was to use the reflector, which is good, and he decided to jump in, which was questionable because then he jumped at Ice Climbers with the reflector, and they just hit him for it. It's especially worse because Pit's reflector is actually one of the least risky reflectors, because it can absorb a lot of damage without actually damaging Pit himself. But he still got hit. Up air, enough of the hitboxes were actually able to hit the Ice Climbers. They dropped their shield partway through. That's a mechanic that I don't think I've ever talked about before. If you're getting hit by a move, you can drop your shield, but it's not a very fancy mechanic. It effectively just removes the shield from your person, and it takes a little bit of time to perform. And if you time it right, you could get a parry, but if you don't, then you're just no longer shielding. And if your opponent's using a multi-hit move, then you usually get hit by the next hit of the multi-hit. And now we have Young Link against Meta Knight. Some of the shortest swordsmen in the game. In fact, thinking about it, Meta Knight is probably the shortest swordsman in the game, and Young Link is definitely down there. The only other character I could think is, who has a sword at least, who's maybe shorter than him would be, and Young Link's already dead. Anyways, the only character I can think of who would be shorter than him and also has a sword is Toon Link. But I'd have to put them next to each other to actually compare that. Meta Knight with a very ambitious shuttle loop right in Young Link's face. Young Link hits Meta Knight with his up air. It's actually a pretty strong move. It kills, and it's probably Young Link's fastest aerial, at least if you're not in range of his neutral air. But those two moves you use in vastly different scenarios anyway. And Meta Knight looped exactly around Young Link there, but didn't actually get him with any part of the shuttle loop. Which is already interesting that that's what his move is called. The shuttle loop is a move that Kirby can perform in the Kirby games, but he does it with the wing ability. Usually when you'll see Meta Knight in a traditional Kirby game, he plays basically like Wing Kirby and Sword Kirby with the moves of both. So Meta Knight actually gets the creative distinction of getting to hold a sword out in front of him when he does the shuttle loop. But that's not normally part of the move. That's a Meta Knight only bonus, because he is a character with wings and a sword. And that gets the damaging down throw off of Young Link. It's a move where you repeatedly kick the opponent in the face, so it shouldn't be too surprising. And that's a footstool. And Young Link dies again at pitifully low percentage. He was doing pretty well last stock. At least, he held a very supreme... He was really good at pressuring Meta Knight there. So when the second stock came, he didn't have too much percentage, which actually put him back in the running. And then he lost his second stock at an early time as well. I can only assume that means that his third stock is also going to be disappointing or very quick in some way. Meta Knight has enough of a recovery to save himself from the revenge footstool. Young Link tries to follow up a fire arrow with an up smash. The threshold on that is just a little bit too long. He did trade with Meta Knight, but it still just didn't pan out. Young Link tried to go off stage against Meta Knight there. It's a risky proposition. Meta Knight has enough jumps that he basically gets to pick his timing. Other characters, you only get the one double jump, so you have to commit. Meta Knight choosing not to go off stage. Interesting choice. Again, he does have a lot of double jumps and a sword. That usually makes him do pretty well when he's off stage in the air. Actually, he gets to the platform with the Mach Tornado there. I believe that saved him on the landing lag. Meta Knight, using all of the evasive maneuvers he can think of at the moment, does avoid him from taking damage, which is to his advantage because he wants to kill Young Link, and he died anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. But he does want to kill Young Link either as soon as possible or with the minimum damage taken to himself. And Young Link's not going to be able to make that back. That means Meta Knight makes it into April Anger. And now we have Wario against Bowser. The heavyweights from the Mushroom Kingdom. So this is an interesting matchup for a couple of reasons. First of all, Bowser's recovery, it has a hitbox, but it doesn't cover particularly far away from him. Both characters do make it on stage there. Wario's down air is pretty good at hitting Bowser through his whirling fortress. This is pretty bad for Bowser because even though Wario's down air doesn't spike, it does send opponents up and away, which is about the same distance that Bowser's recovery takes him. So you can get put in a loop of Wario constantly down airing you off stage, and you can only try to recover and hope that he messes it up. This isn't to say that Bowser doesn't have some of his own tricks against Wario. My favorite is actually at the beginning of the match. You hit Wario with a side special and take him off the ledge. It's usually called the Bowser side. It's a little bit easier if your opponent's at more percentage than you are. But the point of doing that is that it means that Wario gets fewer wafts. So waft is his down special, it's the big fart move. He gets it after about 2 minutes of gameplay. And it's actually one of the few mechanics in the game that perseveres between stocks. So if Wario dies with half a waft, he still has half a waft. It's a little bit of a misnomer to call it half of a waft. because he can still use it at half of the maximum potential charge, and it can do pretty impressive knockback and even kill. So it's actually a very important asset for Wario to have. So Bowser, being the heaviest character in the game, who you could argue having the waft would be the most useful on because it's a very high knockback, if committal move. That's why you take Wario off the stage and Bowser side him. On most stages, Wario doesn't make it back, I don't think. You know what? Probably strike that from the record, because I don't know how to define most stages. All I can say is that if Wario can make it back, he needs to use his bike to do it. Which also means that if his bike is somewhere else, then he actually can't. And also, a lot of Wario's just never expected to be taken off stage, especially that early in a match. If you do it in the first 15 seconds, most Warios aren't expecting you to kill yourself and them. When you Bowser side somebody, you die first. That's something they specifically programmed into the game. I will say I'm actually curious to find out how they did that. I don't know if I'll ever get to know that, though. And if a Wario isn't expecting to use his bike to recover, he might not be able to. Additionally, the bike does give you a certain amount of vertical distance when you use it, even if you do jump off of it. And if you're taking Wario past the ledge, you're usually just under it anyway, which makes it more awkward for him to recover. So this matchup definitely has its interesting dynamics. And Wario actually landing the down smash, he does get a weak hit because it's not a particularly great move. In fact, it often will show up on people's lists for worst smash attack in the game. It, of course, depends on how you define it, but Wario's down smash just isn't great. It lasts long and it doesn't hit particularly hard. Bowser rolls from the ledge. Wario does nothing, so he gets a giant elbow to the face for his trouble. Wario gets back on his bike. It's always an option that's available to you, but usually you want to eat your bike, which is also a sentence I never thought I'd have to say. You eat your bicycle so that despawns it immediately, so that it'll be available to you when you need it. Whereas if your bicycle's on stage, then you can't pull it out and recover like Wario did there. Wario does have a full waft, you can tell by the glowing flashing he's doing. If he does hit Bowser with it, and he doesn't, so that's kind of part of his win condition. It's a very important part about Wario that he gets a huge super move every 2 minutes if he doesn't use it. You can actually charge it up quicker if you eat something with his chomp move, by the way, which is yet another reason why you would want to consume your bicycle. And a back air from Bowser is going to kill Wario. Bowser even had a stock to spare. And for next match, we have Link against Mii Brawler. Interesting fact about Link is that in a lot of the promotional material I've seen Nintendo put out lately, they seem to be using the Skyward Sword render of Link. I will say it does make sense. They just made the remaster, even if it was maybe a couple years ago at this point. But it is something that exists, so jot that down, I guess. But it's also the last game Link's been in where he wears his traditional green outfit. In Breath of the Wild, they wanted to go a different route. I believe I had heard that the designers had a hard time trying to make Link cool in his green outfit, which is also surprising to hear because Link sort of made the outfit cool. And then in Tears of the Kingdom, he doesn't have it as well, even though his newer outfit for that game is more greenish. But everyone still knows Link as the hero in the green tunic. So when they put him on anything that's pretty much seen by anyone generally, they use the last green tunic render they have, and that's the one from Skyward Sword. I will say it is interesting to see how Breath of the Wild, when it came out, it contextualized a lot of the creative decisions in Skyward Sword. A stamina meter makes a lot more sense when you're climbing mountains instead of running to the other end of Skyloft. And breakable shields make more sense when You don't need to go back to the island in the sky in order to purchase one, and instead you just kind of find them wherever. Although I'll also say that Breath of the Wild was more of a departure from the core gameplay elements that everyone really appreciated about the Zelda series. So all of this to say, I don't know what they're going to do for the next Zelda game. It'll be interesting if they try to keep going in this new direction, and Mii Brawler gets gimped again by Link. If he wants to win this, he's got to get that to stop happening. Something traded with Link, almost killed him. Mii Brawler has very painful smash attacks. Every character, I suppose, has painful smash attacks, but Mii Brawler, the whole shtick of the character is supposed to be their fighting ability. So it'd be a little bit lame if their smash attacks were on the weaker end. And that's going to kill Mii Brawler. As I was just trying to sing their praises. Link makes it into the tournament. And for this match, we're going to have Daisy against Bowser Jr. Even though he looks like Ludwig von Koopa, I can assure you it's a Bowser Jr. amiibo. Looks like we're going to be on a Battlefield-like stage. This is the Final Fantasy stage, but it does have the same three-platform layout. It is interesting because when hazards are on, the platforms actually move around and shuffle around a lot, so it feels a lot less like a duplicate stage. I can say that it was probably made this way with the intention of... Oh, you know what? I was gonna propose a theory as to why the stage is like this, but it doesn't make sense. I was going to say that it starts in this platform layout so that it provides as an alternative for the classic Battlefield stage, except that the hazards off option wasn't in the game in Smash 4 when this stage was originally introduced. It wasn't until Smash Ultimate that it was. So I actually can't say why the platforms are like this. I can say that there's only so many ways you can arrange the platforms, and Dreamland also has this same three-platform layout, so it's not unheard of. It actually does keep all the platforms in a centralized location. Peach pulling a turnip in the nick of time to actually hit Bowser Jr. with it. He sends him off stage. He doesn't use the go-kart to recover. If Bowser Jr. uses his side special, the clown cart gets little wheels on it, kind of sounding like an RC car, and he's not going to be able to recover from that even with Daisy saving him. This is why you recover with your side B as Bowser Jr. It is incredibly effective, and it gives you a bonus jump since you can jump out of the move whether or not you've used your double jump. It is effectively just an extra feature of the side special move, and there Bowser Jr. used it, so I know that he's capable of it. He's just refusing to do it for some reason. Lays an up special trap, actually gets Daisy with it. It's gonna blow her up. Bowser Jr. air dodges the stage, does get him there safely safely enough. Starts the up air chains, and Daisy gets out with a well-timed back air. Daisy decides to pick up the Mecha Koopa that Bowser Jr. had laid. I suppose in this matchup this would be pretty annoying for Bowser Jr., specifically because Daisy is a character who could float off the ground perpetually, and that's not where a lot of Bowser Jr.'s stuff normally covers. If he goes into the go-kart, then that usually hits people on the ground. He can try to jump out of it, but you get more speed when you're driving along the ground, so it usually is less effective. And it probably changes the hitboxes to some degree. He has a cannonball that goes forward along the ground, a Mecha Koopa that walks along the ground. He does have a pretty long-lasting forward air. So he can use that against Daisy. Something to know is that when you're floating, you can't actually shield. Since a lot of Daisy and or Peach players will try to float just out of your range in front of you, but if you have a disjointed hitbox or a projectile, you can just throw it at them and there isn't much they can do. They could try to air dodge and see if that works out for them. Never a guarantee, though. Bowser Jr. still needs to get Daisy's first stock gotten rid of, and he's on his last, and he's at kill percent. Daisy doesn't have any kill throws, but if she hits him with a turnip, Bowser Jr. avoided it, and barely clips him with the back air. That's going to not eliminate Bowser Jr. from the tournament yet, but that does mean that Daisy wins and not him. And for the last match of this video, we're going to have Ike against R.O.B US. You may have forgotten about R.O.B US, that's because he got the bye last round. This round the math worked out so we didn't need a bye, so no one got any. But it does also mean that in the last couple episodes you couldn't have seen R.O.B US, because he wasn't fighting in him. Getting a whole bunch of up airs off of Ike all of a sudden. Gets Ike off stage, and R.O.B gets scooped by his recovery. That was almost a very impressive early play. Ike hitting R.O.B with his enormous sword. I know I would want to get my face split in half with a claymore first thing in the morning. R.O.B's going to have a hard time landing. Ike does have a very long sword, which is going to make it hard to fall past him. And R.O.B just got killed off at the top. Starts chaining Ike with forward airs. That top left platform is pretty close to the blast zone. Gets a throw on Ike, goes for a spike, not able to get it to land. Falling up air past the ledge, interesting. R.O.B doesn't get scooped off the edge that time. Hits Ike with a very late part of the neutral air hitbox. R.O.B getting one of the techs in there. Up air's not going to kill Ike just yet. You usually need to be pretty high on the screen for that move to kill. Up smash, you need to be a lot less specific with that, but R.O.B wasn't able to get it to hit. Ike opted to go for the side special there. A little risky. I would think normally your aerial drift would carry you close enough. Ike got his knockback reduced by all those wall bounces just enough he was able to recover. R.O.B getting a whole bunch of techs, except that one. So you're going to be seeing Ike in the tournament. And that match went a little bit shorter than I was expecting. I hope you still enjoyed it anyway. We've got another episode next time where we're going to be continuing these matches to see who makes it in. So, you know, watch those if you want. Until then, though, bye.